Here is a little update on my deck garden. Hey y'all, welcome back to In the Kitchen with Baker Girl. Thank you, Jesus. It is another beautiful day to be a gardener. So I wanted to give you guys a quick update on my deck garden. Now this is my Italian oregano and it is beautiful. This is my basil. This is a different variety of basil. This variety I purchased from my local farmer's market. This is our tomato plants. Now this is an update from several weeks ago, and I will show you how these plants look. All of these plants look now because we have been blessed with some beautiful rain showers. And so this is what they looked like a few weeks ago before we got the rain. And as you can see, we already had 2 little tomatoes coming. That is very exciting to see. We used a mixture of potting soil and we didn't put any other things in it. We just used a good potting soil. And we picked up these buckets. Actually, the buckets come from all over the place. We got some from Harbor Freight, some from Lowe's, and some from Sam's Club, and believe it or not. So the buckets are from all over the place. But the tomato plants were doing good, but there is nothing like the rain that comes from heaven. I mean, our watering, as you can see, this is how it looks when we were watering. And then I will show you what they look like now that we have been getting all of these beautiful rain showers. Now, this is the cherry tomatoes. And we actually harvested our first cherry tomato this week. Very exciting. It was just one, but thank you, Jesus. They are bearing, and from what I understand, once cherry tomatoes start growing, all the old timers are looking like, yeah, you're gonna have more than you want, but that's fine. I go through quite a few tomatoes around here. There's another baby cherry tomato, and I mean they're delicious to bake with, but they also make good soups and stews, not just for salads. You can roast them. And this is called a brandywine tomato. Now, I have to be 100% transparent. I did not pick these plants out. I did pick out the herbs, but not the tomatoes. I know about tomatoes as general, but not in terms of best yields and all those kind of stuff. The old timers, they're better at things like that than I am. Now, my rosemary plant, it looks good, but it has not thrived like I expected it to thrive. I don't know whether it was planted too shallow or maybe not shallow enough. Rosemary likes good drainage. I do know that much. But it has not thrived like I expected. Now, there's the basil. Then this is the basil now. That is Basil Genovese, by the way. Still can't figure out what variety this is. This could be sweet basil. I don't know. If you know what variety this one is, leave it in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to put a name to this basil. But as you can see, from just a couple of weeks ago to now, these basil plants are just, they're booming. I'm literally clipping basil just to make sure it doesn't start to seed out, because you do have to clip it. So if you're curious, this is how you harvest basil. You go down to there is always a little bit of a space between the next plant per se. So there's about maybe an inch of stem, bare stem. You go down to the top of that and you usually find 2 little leaves sticking out like that, one on either side. You want to clip right there above those 2 little leaves. When you do that, that encourages your basil to grow. You don't want to cut those below those, because unless you really intend to cut a lot. I usually just take the tops like that and just keep trimming that. And the more you trim, the more your basil will grow. And that's just beautiful and delicious and perfect for anything, really. I mean, you can put basil in sandwiches like you would lettuce. It's delicious. Now, For this basil, it is a little bit more tightly bunched. So they're giving you a bit of a close up. It's a little bit more tightly bunched, but you really have to get in there and find, it's pretty much the same for the other basil. You find that little 1 inch of stem, then go below it and clip right there, and you end up with this beautiful little natural basil bouquet, which I think is just cute. Now, I do dry other herbs, whether it's thyme or rosemary or oregano, whatever. Those herbs dry very easily. Basil dries easily too, but basil doesn't retain as much flavor dried as it does fresh. So I'm using as much of it fresh as I possibly can. Now, this is fast forward to now. My rosemary plant, as you can see, is still not booming like the basil. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's just the way she is and she's fine. Maybe she's not meant to be a super tall girl. I don't know. But if you all have any rosemary tips, rosemary growing tips, drop them in the comments. I would be happy to hear it because I kind of want to make sure I'm taking the best care of it. Now, basil won't come back next year, unlike my rosemary. My rosemary will come back. And normally, I plant my rosemary in the ground. This is actually the first year that I haven't put rosemary in the ground and trying it in the bucket. And the reason for that is it has been so dry this year. We're actually still in a drought. Despite the blessings of the rain showers, we're still in a drought. And so I can water it a little better, in my opinion, in the bucket. But if you have any rosemary tips, leave them in the comments and I'd be happy to hear it. Now, this is the little walkthrough. We created a bit of a pathway to get to it. Now, the black tarp the idea was protection for the deck, but we discovered it was more of a hindrance than not. So we've actually removed that. Now, this is my Italian oregano, and this is a creeper. So the bucket is really, really containing it because this is a creeper plant and it has these little tendrils that goes out. If it's planted in the ground, it will run. But as you can see, look at the size of the tomatoes. It is so exciting to see. I know my dad had a garden for years and years and years and years. So this is not an uncommon sight, but it's still rather fun to see, some fruits of your labor. But, oh, thank you, Jesus. Look at them rascals. Oh, wow. Those are really showing out. And, of course, more cherry tomatoes. And I'm not entirely sure what variety of cherry tomatoes these are. Now, these are our cayenne peppers. We thought at first nothing was happening. And then we realized the cayenne peppers are just really good at hiding. And so if you just glance at it, you don't see nothing. But then when you look closer, there they are. So we've started harvesting those as well. But there's another tomato. And I intend to use these in various different ways. But what I am most excited about is the herbs, because that's what I know I will use way more than anything else. Now, back to my rosemary plant. I will bring it in the house in the fall because we have very, very cold, and I mean extremely cold, windy winters where we are. We live right at the foot of a mountain. And so all of that super cold mountain air just rushes right through our area. We have windbreakers planted, but it still doesn't really stop the wind. So I'm going to bring my rosemary in this fall. But it's time for me to head back in the kitchen. I have got an apron stuffed with herbs. I've got rosemary, basil, some of the Italian oregano, and I recently added a thyme plant to my little family of herbs. So it's time for me to head back in the kitchen and do something with these delicious herbs. Rennie was taking his morning sunbath after demanding treats, which he has a tendency to do. Rennie was taking his little morning bath. By the way, speaking of Rennie doesn't really care to be either photographed or filmed. So that's why you rarely see Rennie. Now, how I wash my herbs, I just put them in my salad spinner and give them a good swish around. They're usually not at all dirty because they're not in the ground, and it's rarely bugs on them. And as I say, we are still in a drought, so I'm saving all the water that I can. So the water that I wash the herbs in, it goes right back on the plants, so there's no waste and there's really no loss. Because as I say, despite the fact that we live in the mountains, we are under a drought. A good portion of the state of Virginia is under a drought right now. So I put the herbs back in my salad spinner, give them a whiz, and then I put them in a clean tea towel and wrap up that tea towel with the herbs in it. And I kind of let them hang out in there to dry naturally that way. And you can keep them in the fridge like this too. Just put the tea towel in the fridge, and that will make sure your herbs are good and dry. They cut better. You can chop your herbs a little better if they're dry than if they're wet, especially basil. But I will be using these herbs in my basil and olive focaccia with roasted red peppers. That is, oh wow, that is a very happy focaccia. Oh wow. And that of course comes from, you have a very good active sourdough starter. Then I use my rosemary and my Italian oregano in my rosemary, thyme, and olive bread, and also in some of my sourdough loaves. I hope you guys have enjoyed this little tour of my summer deck garden. If you have, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more recipes, updates, and interesting sneak peeks in the kitchen. And the good Lord willing, I will see y'all again in another video. Love y'all. Bye.